Hello, my name is Ina. I'm a long-time Final Fantasy XIV player since 1.0 Alpha, and I like to keep an eye on how the WoW players journey through Final Fantasy XIV. Some of them are very long-time WoW players, so their views of playing a different game are quite interesting for me, because I usually play like 3, 4, sometimes 5 MMOs at the same time. So just being fixated on a single one is something I never quite experienced. So it is interesting for me to see the perspective of someone who's actually coming from a very single focused MMO to a new one. And Pyromancer is someone that I find interesting because he's very interested in the story. We do have in the community quite some story nerds, Attis, for example, or the Moose. I don't even try to speak out the rest of it. I usually just shorten it to Moose. You might have heard of Moose because Pyro was on Frosty's podcast, and he finished Heavensward at this point, the base game from Heavensward, and I am interested in what he has to say. So let's watch. I'll turn that down a bit.
We're actually fucking recording this time. Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Pyromancer here, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all having a wonderful day, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world. And today we're going to be talking about Final Fantasy XIV and the storyline trends and little things that I've noticed so far that I think that I've noticed. It's one of the most highly requested videos ever on my channel, is people just curious, like, where are you at? Like, what's going on in your mind? Like, what are you thinking?
Yes, what
now,
do you think?
If you guys don't know, I do stream over on Twitch. That's
twitch.tv/Pyromancer.
We normally stream on Tuesdays and Fridays, typically between 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. Pacific time. Sometimes I add in extra days or extra hours. I did like a 15-hour stream the other day. So that's where you can actually go and see this thought process live. And that's where I'm actually there taking notes. A lot of you may not know this, but I have over almost 100 pages of notes on Final Fantasy XIV so far. Anything from small story.
I have to say that's pretty cute, especially since technically the game gives you notes by having access to, well, the journal, and you can rewatch in the cutscenes, and you can replay everything because you have New Game Plus. But it's very cute. So I'm very interested to see what he has picked up on. I probably should say spoilers, because I will not hold back with information I have, obviously, from Shadowbringers that Pyromancer does not have. And I'm pretty sure he also did not read the encyclopedias yet. So if you don't know anything about that, you probably should not watch this video. Just saying.
Beats to big Heidelin Zodiac connections that I'm trying to make in my mind. Little side thoughts and everything.
He is totally not prepared for that at all.
Everything like that as I go. There's a lot of lore in this game. And I came from World of Warcraft as a heavy lore guy, as most of you will probably know. So for me, this is one of the biggest reasons why I am playing Final Fantasy. The story has been immaculate so far. But I'd like to give you guys a little bit of insight onto my thinking. So before we jump into it, if you're new to my channel and this is the first time you're watching, I would certainly appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button. It's a free way to support me, help grow the channel, and we are so close to 100,000 subs. At 100,000 subs, I get a silver play button from YouTube that comes on a plaque, and I actually get to put it on the wall. It's got my channel name and everything. So if you guys would help me get there, I would really appreciate it. We're so close. So
well, you have
if
my
you enjoyed this video in particular,
so
make sure to not only hit the subscribe button, but also hit the like button. It's another great way to support me, and it just makes me feel good. It lets me know you guys are enjoying the content that I'm putting out here. All right, without any further ado, let's jump into it. So in my notes, I have
Actually, before I have not seen this yet, so I'm not entirely sure what he's about to tell. However, I'm kind of wondering if he, since he did play um, the Crystal Tower storyline, I kind of wonder if he picked up on this specific storyline and has already the idea that we use the Crystal Tower at a later point again, like for example Jesse Cox, who did actually predict it in 2 point I think 1 or 2 whenever he played Crystal Tower that we would use it at some point again to kill someone. If we actually killed Elizabeth, that's still up for debate in my mind because I play in 2 different languages, and this particular part had quite tiny little bit of different translations. So in English it was one thing, in German it was another thing. I'm going with the English version for now, but kind of with some doubt in there. Anyway, I'm kind of curious if he has picked up on things like, well, maybe we will use the Crystal Tower again. You know what I mean?
many different things, right? Like I said, covering from characters to major plots to small subtleties and hints. And as I play through this game, there's 2 main groups of individuals who I've really put a lot of focus on. And that, of course, would be the Scions of the Seventh Dawn and Hydaelyn, and then the Ascians and Zodiark. Then there's also the Warrior of Light on the side of Hydaelyn, and then the Warrior of Darkness on the side of Zodiark. So to me, I see...
Aha. I guess he already made... I know he's actually... At that time, we also thought the Warrior of Darkness is part of the Zodiac thing. So thinking that the Warrior of Darkness is part of Zodiac, in terms of the current story, I guess the thought process is quite correct in there. And yet it's so utterly wrong. I love it.
This very plain kind of cut down the middle. Here's your white, here's your black. But I know that the truth is that somewhere in the middle there exists a whole lot of gray. So some things that I've noticed, okay? We as the Warrior of Light are special in that we have a supreme connection to Hydaelyn. We are essentially Hydaelyn's champion. We're the one that goes around and kind of, to an extent, exerts Hydaelyn's will. You know, we kind of go around and do what she's wanting us to, which has even led to the fulfillment of certain pacts between beings like Hydaelyn and Midgard-Zemir. So there's a lot going on there. And,
actually, no, we did not have anything to do with Hydaelyn.
The main thing is that Hydaelyn must be incredibly old. I just learned in 3.1, working with Master Matoya and Y'shtola and Alphino, I've learned that there are crystals of light which exist in the world, and Matoya's happens to be very old, from several eras ago, and it is much more powerful than the ones that exist now. Now that would go to say, of course, that Hydaelyn has been losing power over time, but it also suggests that Hydaelyn has been present, most likely through most of, if not all of, the Umbral calamities. Now the thing is, I haven't been given any timelines really as far as how old Hydaelyn is, how long ago was the first Umbral calamity. I have no idea, right?
I actually think the timeline we think around is around about 12,000 years when Amarut fell and they summoned Zodiac. I'm pretty sure it's around 12,000 years. So
I'm in 3.1, so I'm not even into Stormblood yet. I haven't even fought the Warring Triad yet, but I'm on my way to do so. So that's kind of where I'm at. Now, Hydaelyn produces champions, the Warrior of Light, but then also gifts certain individuals with the Echo. Now, the Echo is different for everybody, as I've just recently learned from Kryl, who can speak to creatures of all manner and size and things of that nature, but she cannot commune with beasts. But she's not really speaking to them. She's more like hearing the thoughts of their soul, which is insane, by the way. Talk about an invasion of privacy. So private that you don't even know that...
Wait until he finds out that there's also the power to just see into the future. Even though for that you do have to do Borgia, but still, like the echo is very powerful. And Elizabeth numerous of times actually said that it's such a powerful ability. I kind of wish that maybe because Elizabeth was always the one who actually mentioned it, unlike La Brea or Emmett Zeig. And I kind of wish they could have shown in some way or form how powerful it truly is for a person that is not sundered. Which, unfortunately, as of right now, we don't really have anyone. Maybe with the exception of Vinar. Maybe.
You're thinking and feeling those things. So kind of crazy, right? But then we have Minfilia with her echo. We have the echo. There's several examples of that. But it's this special power that seems to be, it's kind of wishy-washy in the game so far, but it seems to be separate from the Blessing of Light. The Blessing of Light is something that...
Very good. You could actually... I personally never quite paid attention to that. For me, it was like almost all the same, like protection and light and blah, until you came to 5.2. Well, it was definitely confirmed. You have the echo and you have the blessing, and these are very two different things. But if you did pay attention to a story, it was told to you very early on. There's also the fact La Habrea will actually, when you do the dungeon to find the Elder of the Sylphs, he will actually mention that the word isn't quite like it was supposed to be. So very early on, they do mention here and there that the beings are sundered, and everyone maybe at some point was whole. So there are here and there like little pieces of information scattered that totally make sense now after 5.3, but didn't quite make sense at that time, or were differently interpreted.
We gather through getting connections with these pure elemental crystals the first time around anyway, before Midgard-Zemir strips us of that blessing. So he takes this blessing away from us, presumably because us using it is actually weakening Hydaelyn. I'm assuming, I mean, that's what Midgard-Zemir kind of alluded to, is that the longer that we hold this connection, and that we do this, the more it actually is draining Hydaelyn, and the worse it's going to be. However, it also sounded as though Midgard-Zemir wasn't exactly sure if he thought that we were worthy of Hydaelyn's gift, which he later kind of comes to the acceptance that we are. So we have this echo, and then we have the crystals of...
Actually, I just noticed that he put on the wall, "What are you, Tormund?" Well, what are you? I can tell you.
Light, this power that are bound via the elements. Now, the thing is that I learned when I was doing Azus Law, just before fighting Thordan, which was fucking incredible. One of the coolest fights I've ever done in any game. I learned that the Ascians have the echo too. Lahabrea and Igiorm, you fight them both and they merge, and before they merge and become the Ascian Prime, they actually, and become their true form, it seems like, Lahabrea makes a comment about how they're gonna show the mortals the true power of the echo, the power to break down the barriers of reality. So he's suggesting that the Ascians have the echo.
Yes,
and that
they do.
could be why they're immortal, if not captured within white auracite, or if not captured within an etheric blade of some manner, as Thordan did with Lahabrea. So it's fucking crazy. It sounds like both Hydaelyn...
Actually, interesting that he mentioned captured with a light, because there's still the thing that Lahabrea never really died. In one of the life letters, they did confirm that his soul and his ether was actually still in the eye, that absorbed him. So we are not exactly sure what happened to Lahabrea. And considering that in Endwalker, the one of the raids will be seemingly Lahabrea themed, because when they showed the picture, the half of the mask, the Asian mask, was the Habreas. So there might be still something up. The only one of the three that we can with absolute certainty say that he did enter the live stream and therefore died is actually Emmett Syke. We know that. The Habrea, we have no idea what happened to him actually. And a little bit, depending which version you played, in the German version, it's relatively clearly stated that he is sealed in the tower. So he did not enter the live stream. Meaning we probably could still get him out of that tower. Maybe. Or maybe he was killed and the translation just got messed up. We never know.
Some of Heidelin's kind of minions have the echo, and it sounds like some of the Asians, if not all the Asians, also have the echo. Now,
All
the
of them
echo
have
is
them.
an interesting ability in that for us, it actually allows us to see the memories of somebody else. We can kind of look back in time to an echo of something that happened. But why is it actually named the Echo? I would assume because maybe we have echoes of former Warrior of Light's power. Maybe it's an echo that's passed on through the calamities. I did learn that the Warriors of Light
That's a really good
come to
thought
serve and come
concept
to
here.
fruition on the cusp of an umbral calamity. Heidelin calls them forth and basically works miracles in order to stop the calamity. Now, the calamities are referred to as something else by the Asians, and that's the rejoining or joining. And it sounds like the Asians want to bring this god of theirs, Zodiark, into our reality. But there's some steps that have to happen before that can occur. Now, Zodiark, I've seen the big dark purple crystal, and it seems almost like an antithesis to what Heidelin is, right? Like there's kind of two sides of the same coin, so to speak.
You know, I really can't wait for him to get into Shadowbringers, and then when the line gets dropped that Elizabeth is the summoner, he will be mind blown. I'm so looking forward to that.
But I would imagine that they both probably have manifestations more humanoid, I would assume, when they manifest in reality. Like I don't expect Heidelin to come in as a big crystal. That could happen, but I'm assuming that they have avatars of some sort that they can use to manifest themselves in reality in some manner, I would think. Now, as far as where they are, I don't know. I'm assuming Zodiark is in the world of darkness or like in the void. I'm not really sure how that works or if there's a gray area that exists between those two things.
Interesting that he hasn't picked up yet on the moon, because Elizabeth is constantly on the moon, even in 3.1. So at this point, he was at least twice to be seen on the moon. So he probably will make relatively soon the connection that it is assumed that Zodiac is on the moon.
And as far as Heidelin goes, I'm a little bit tripped up because we're told like the land is alive, so believe, right? The world of Heidelin is alive. Now in World of Warcraft, the world of Azeroth was alive too, and Azeroth was a goddess that lived inside of our planet, or so we're told. So I'm wondering if Heidelin is actually like inside the planet physically.
Yes, she is.
And that's why
Good
Zodiark
job.
wants to make his way into the physical plane where it all exists so that there can be some kind of merger, this rejoining. The Asians talk about the world returning to what it was. And I know that it started with Umbral and then went to Astral, and it cycles through just like the calendar does in the game. So we were in our first Umbral era, first Astral era, second Umbral Calamity, second Umbral era, as far as I'm understanding it. That's how it works. Now, it sounds like the Asians have been attempting this time and time again. They've made mention of she's staved off the rejoining multiple times, but not this time, right? So the Asians are trying to bring this rejoining together. Now, the words rejoining, again, makes me kind of feel like Zodiark was probably part of Heidelin, or this was all some kind of constructed ecosystem that was working pretty well initially. But
I kind of wanna, at this point in the game, I mean, he knows about the void. Right, he didn't do the raid series yet, so he hasn't met Onukar High yet. So, and the Warriors of the Light have not told him yet that they are from the first. So he doesn't actually know yet that there are 13 other worlds that are exactly like our world. However, he definitely should have heard about the 14 or 13 reflections at this point. So he probably didn't pick it up yet, but he probably will in latest patch 5.3. No, 3.3. Oh God.
But has since maybe changed because of the presence of Hydaelyn. Maybe one came before the other. Maybe they both came at the same time.
Oh, that's good. I will send him that clip at some point. One came before the other.
I'm not sure, but it kind of seems like to me like Hydaelyn and Zodiark are like the fucking tippy top of power. And then we get into like the 12 and the primals and things like that. Now,
yes, you're
let's
correct.
get into that because that's going to directly tie into what I'm seeing Zodiark and the Ascians doing. So you have a couple different groups of gods. You have the Warring Triad, which are kind of like their own little separate things, summoned a long, long time ago, imprisoned by the Alligans, almost said the Ascians, and have been there ever since for thousands of years. Then you've got the 12, right? So these are like the kind of the holy deities, right? Like your Halone, your Althic, your Thaliak, those kinds of gods, right? That seem to be of their own separate pantheon and kind of separate from the primals. Then you've got the primals, which are generally summoned out of fervent prayer, typically by what's referred to as beast tribes, which is realistically just a racist fucking term made up by Eorzeans in a way to like make those lesser peoples than the sophisticated
You're
races
so right.
groups of Eorzea, because they're really
Thanks
just
for acknowledging
indigenous peoples is really what they seem to be. Typically, they summon these primals when they're afraid, when their land's being encroached on, when a treaty's been broken, like the Sahagin, right? Like in the Ixal, the Amalja had some issues with that kind of stuff, right? So a lot of times these are being summoned out of a feeling of necessity because they feel like it's the only thing that they can do. There are exceptions to that, like Ravana, for example, in the One Mind, who decided to summon him not out of necessity, but because that's just kind of what they're driven to do. That's just what they want to do. They want to expand their empire. They want the fighting. They want the war. Ravana almost comes off to me in Ravana of the Four Blades Go Figure as like kind of like a sword logic kind of deal from like Destiny 2, right? Where like the Hive is they just believe in sword logic and your right to exist is defined by your ability to fight and defend yourself. And so that was a really interesting, really cool take on that. There's also Alexander, who was manifest with such inline logic and reason and honestly just cold calculation, really. It came to realize that it was a threat to the very surroundings that were.
Yeah, Alexander is a little bit of a special case and also plays again into Shadowbringers. So probably another reason why people should do like all of the raids, every single one of them, because in the end, even the stories that are put into the raids at some point will affect the main story again. So far, yeah, actually all of them in some form have affected the main story. Minus maybe the Void, but on the other hand, we learned like the stuff with a Cloud of Darkness, and we know that a lot of the Void Sent are actually people from the 13s. With some of these monsters that we fight during the pirate quest trial thing. One of them at least was to be believed a warrior of light of the 13th. So do all the side content, really, just do it.
That were near it. And so I found that very interesting that Alexander chose to do nothing in order to make sure that it wouldn't destroy the dream which it was created to fulfill. Beautiful storyline. Alexander was absolutely fucking fantastic. But then I take a step back and I start to look at this, right? We typically see the 12 called upon by the more orderly peoples of Eorzea, right? The ones in the more sophisticated civilizations, those almost seem like gods that would be kind of more tailored towards Hydaelyn. And when I look at the primals and I see the way which they react, and after learning that the primals that are summoned are not even the real deities themselves, they're fake falsehoods, right? They're these fake, dark manifestations of falsified faith, and they're not real. And this was a very hard-hitting, heart-crushing story that we saw unfold with Isael, which I loved. I love the story in this game. But we learned that these primals, they're not real. They're not the real thing. But who's going around teaching everybody how to summon them? Oh, it's the Ascians. So the Ascians know the secrets to summoning these things.
Yes,
And the Ascians
they
also
do.
know that they're not real gods. And they also know that when they're summoned that they're going to suck the fucking land of ether. And remember, the land is alive. So what I would assume at this point is that Zodiark and the Ascians are more directly responsible for the primals than we probably realize. And it
Yep.
would seem as though they want to summon these primals because it weakens Hydaelyn.
Yes,
And
correct.
the weaker that they can get
Good job.
Hydaelyn, the easier a time they're going to have bringing Zodiark into reality. The reason I say that is because of one very distinct detail that I recall Nebriales pointing out when he invaded the Waking Sands, and that was that because we no longer had our Blessing of Light, we couldn't keep the Ascians out of the Waking Sands. We could not repel them, so to speak.
Actually, only the lesser ones. I'm not sure. Actually, at this point, he doesn't know yet that there are actually only 3 who are still the original ones, the original ancients. The rest is, reborn and so on. And Sundard, which is why Elidibus actually could enter the Waking Sands. So Elidibus could get in, but Navrialis could not until the Blessing of Light was actually gone.
But after it was gone, they could enter. Now that leads me to believe that that's a microcosm of what's happening with Hydaelyn and Zodiark. And that if Zodiark wants to manifest in reality, in any capacity, Hydaelyn has to be weakened to the point where she cannot repel his presence. And that's about as far as I've gotten with it. There's many questions that I have regarding Hydaelyn and Zodiark. And those questions are going to be things like, what is the relationship that exists between them? How old are they, right? Is Hydaelyn currently exerting more power in will than she's supposed to? Hydaelyn has basically worked miracles to stop the end of the world several times, maybe 7 times. So that's got to be extremely frustrating for the Ascians and for Zodiark, and I'm really excited to find out why and what that is and what's going on there. Some other things that I'm curious to learn about is what happens when the will of light is allowed to exert its influence too potently, because I've seen that occur in other video games, and it's generally terrifying when it happens.
Well, you will learn all about
light
that in
or darkness. If there
Shadowbringers.
is an imbalance of either, there's usually going to be a hard time, right? Like a lot of things are about finding a balance.
Actually, you will learn about it in the next 2
That's what I'm
patches.
going to see. And really the last biggest question is right there on the wall. And Thornton got me thinking about this. What am I? What is the Warrior of Light? I don't have to pray to Hydaelyn. I don't have to give crystals. I don't have to do anything. Hydaelyn just uses me as a vessel sometimes to just exert her will. Divine intervention. What the fuck am I? And what does that make the Warrior of Darkness? And I almost wonder if that's how it's going to work out, is I'm going to learn more about the Warrior of Darkness, which is going to reveal more about me. Because what am I? What am I? Am I a god?
Nope.
Have I surpassed a god?
Nope.
Am I a specter? Am I a shadow? Am I
Kinda.
even? Am I real in the sense that I'm an actual person?
Yes.
What am I? What is going on? I'm excited to find out more. That's where my head's at. I appreciate you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please hit the like button and subscribe. Go and check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/Pyromancer. My Discord, there'll be a link in the description below. I appreciate you guys very much. Thanks so much for watching. Stay awesome, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace!
Well, um, interesting thought process. He gets pretty close. I mean, he does pay a lot of attention. I probably should write a message to Frosty if he's willing to do another lower cast with Pyromancer and Moose and maybe Attis, just to go through the Heavensport story. I think I would like that. Well, I'm glad he's enjoying it. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of his story journey. Actually, I think I saw him being online, so I probably should check how far he has gotten so far. All right, thanks for watching and have a lovely day.